next speaker is Matthias Kauff from the University of Hagen in Germany, where he is a postdoctoral researcher. So I'm going to pass over to you, Matthias. Thank you.
Okay, that should work. First of all, I also want to thank the organizers for putting together this awesome conference at that awesome place. I will talk about social norms and willingness to engage in intergroup contact from a majority perspective. So I only will focus on the majority willingness to engage in intergroup contact. This is research I've conducted together with Mainz, Katharina Schmidt, Sarina Schäfer, who's also in the audience, Uli Wagner, and Olli Christ. And actually, Olli gave the same presentation at SASP, so it might be a good time to get coffee now, or just listen to it for another time and compare the quality of presentation, maybe. No, just kidding. I know that Olli's will be much better. So we're talking about intergroup contact and social norms, or social norms and intergroup contact, to be more precise. We all know that there is ample evidence that intergroup contact reduces prejudice or increases outgroup attitudes. And I refrain from talking like 5 minutes about the Pettigrew and Trop meta-analysis because we should be quite familiar with that one. We also know that little is known, or relatively little is known, about predictors of intergroup contact. There have been some recent reviews showing that, or suggesting some potential predictors on different levels. We focus on one predictor on a macro level, which is social norms. For us, it makes sense to look at social norms because social norms have are very powerful because you only have to change quite a few things and you will reach a lot of people. That's basically the idea. What are social norms? Social norms are standards that define behavioral expectations shared in groups, and there is some evidence showing that social norms influence intergroup relations, or can influence intergroup relations. Pro-diversity norms, can reduce prejudice, and also more directly norms addressing contact behavior can specifically influence willingness to engage in intergroup contact. And there's some research by Linda, for example, and we want to build on that and have a look at that another way, so to say, in another design. As I said, we focus on majority members' willingness to engage in intergroup contact. How do individuals perceive norms? Well, there are some ideas that individuals' perception of norms are formed by interpretation of social cues or environmental cues. And actually, Tankard and Palak differentiate 3 sources of information that people could use to understand norms. First one is individual behavior of relevant others. And we have some research in intergroup contact research for that one, right? Extended contact effects, for example, the idea of extended contact effects is that you observe others having contact, or you know that others have contact. That changes your norms and makes you also more willing to engage in intergroup contact. Then the second one is summary information about a group. I don't know of so much research in the area of intergroup contact in this regard, but there's in general some research showing that people, when giving information about the summary information about the behavior of others in their group, are more likely to show certain behavior. For example, if there's a sign in a hotel room saying that 80% of the customers in this hotel reuse their towel, people are more likely to reuse the towel. And then there are institutional signals. And again, I don't know whether there's so much research on that in the intergroup contact area, but at least in the intergroup relations area, we can, for example, find research by Paluk showing that, for example, Supreme Court rulings affect about gay marriage affect the way we perceive homosexuals. What we are going for is institutional signals. So we aim at studying all those 3 aspects, but right now in this presentation, I will focus on institutional signals. And our idea is that individuals are especially willing to engage in intergroup contact in contexts with opportunities to do so. So this is nothing new, and Patrick just told us something about that. And also in contexts where there are salient anti-discrimination policies, which can lead to a perception of a certain norm. Okay, why anti-discrimination policies? Because we believe that they comprehend efforts to towards equal opportunities and rights. And those equal opportunities should also lead majority members to engage in more intergroup contact. Also, it transports the idea of common identity, and also it anti-discrimination policies kind of transport the idea that minority groups should be, or minority identities should be valued. All right. First study. Question here is whether equality exemplified by local institutions facilitate ethnic majority members' engagement in contact. So we are on a neighborhood level. We use data from Birmingham, UK, comprising of 501 Asian British and about 640 white British people that were nested in 121 neighborhoods. We didn't have any objective information about migration policies or contact policies or equal opportunity policies or anti-discrimination policies within the neighborhood. So what we did is we used the minority sample to generate an own index. We basically asked ethnic minority members about their perception of equal treatment by institutions within different neighborhoods. That is, there were 2 items in the in this survey asking for the perception of equal treatment by the police and by the city. And we aggregated those items for each neighborhood so that we have like a proxy for equal treatment of minorities among local institutions or in local institutions for each neighborhood. Then we focus on the majority part of the sample and observe the variables frequency of positive contact measured with how often, if at all, do you have positive interactions with people of Asian background in this neighborhood, and egalitarian beliefs, which kind of function as a proxy for the perception of social anti-discrimination norms or equality norms. Measured with 2 items, we should do what we can to equalize conditions for different groups, and we should increase social equality. All right. What we find on a neighborhood level, so our results are always situated on the second level, on a context level. What we find is that anti-discrimination policies or equal opportunity or equal treatment perceived by minority members is positively associated with egalitarian beliefs in majority members, which again is positively associated with positive intergroup context by held by majority members. So we do find a significant indirect effect, even when controlling for income and education, and most importantly, when controlling for outgroup size or percentage of ethnic minority group members in a certain neighborhood, or what could also say contact opportunities, which is also a significant predictor of intergroup contact, of course. But in addition, what's new about this research is that anti-discrimination policies also predict positive intergroup contact. Okay, in a second study, we went a level up and looked at the results on a national level. So what we did here is, so the good thing of having national data is you can find some objective indicators for norms, not for norms, but for institutional treatment. And what we have here is the Migrant Integration Policy Index, or MIPEX, which is a measure of policies that countries take to integrate migrants. It's a tool to evaluate and compare governments in what they are doing to promote the integration of migrants. And we took a subdimension of that MIPEX, which was the Anti-Discrimination Index, which measures whether minority individuals are able to make cases against people that discriminate them, or whether discrimination is illegal in different areas of life. Okay, we used this indicator for 20 countries and combined it with European Social Survey data. European Social Survey is a large survey with approximately 35,000 ethnic majority individuals in those 20 countries. And we combined the MIPEX measures, so the objective anti-discrimination index, with the contact items from the European Social Survey. And there were 2 contact items that made sense. The first one was contact frequency. How often do you have any contact with people who are different, who are of a different race or ethnic group? And thinking about this contact in general, how bad or good is it? And what we did is we combined them. So we have an index for the frequency of high quality contact. Okay, so we basically multiplied them. We built the product. Okay, so on the country level, again, what we see here is that the anti-discrimination subdimension of the MIPEX or the anti-discrimination policies in a certain country are positively associated with the frequency of positive contact. Again, this relationship holds when controlling for the GDP, for education, and also for contact opportunities, which in this case is a percentage of foreign-born individuals. It was not only frequency of positive contact, but also the frequency of general contact that was predicted by anti-discrimination policies in this sample. I guess that's it already. No. Okay, conclusion, of course. So obviously anti-discrimination policies and institutional measures aiming at fostering equal treatment of all members of society might help to bring members of different groups together. Okay, so obviously majority members are influenced by institutional behavior in regard with regard to anti-discrimination measures. What we cannot say, however, we cannot say something about the causal direction, because you have noticed that this is correlation of data. And if you had what you all probably had a close look at our abstract, we wanted to present some experimental data as well. Unfortunately, we have severe problems manipulating norms. We use vignette studies to do that, and that it simply didn't work out. So if you have any ideas how to manipulate pro-diversity or pro-contact norms, just let us know. If you have any other data sets we could use, please let us know as well. We are happy to collaborate with you. More than happy. Okay, let me sum up. How can we bring majority group members and minority group members into positive contact? What was well known or what is well established is avoid segregation, create contact opportunities. These lead to more contact. And what is new and what we found out, at least some support for that, is that it makes sense to actively support intergroup encounters in different settings by establishing anti-discrimination measures. And this nicely goes back to what Patrick already said, the 4 conditions Alport proposed. So in our reading, Alport not only said that contact is especially effective when there's institutional support, but also that it is more likely when it is supported by institutions. And we kind of presented some evidence for that. That's it. Thank you. Should I? No, you should moderate, right? Sorry.
And I love that you're getting, my voice is loud enough without this. I really love that you're getting the neighbourhood effects as well as the other effects. One thing that I'm struggling with myself in my own work is thinking about norms. As social psychologists, we often talk about norms as something coming down from on high to change our own behaviour, but norms themselves are not made by magic. They come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Do the norms themselves just come from contact? Of course, everything's likely to be in part cyclical, but do you have any sort of theorizing about what might give rise to normative encouragers of contact apart from contact?
Good question. And an especially relevant point when considering that we have correlation of data. Because as you said, it could be that more contact leads to more liberal norms. Besides that, we haven't thought too much about that, I guess. Yeah, but it's a good thing. Yeah, good thing to do some digging in that. Yeah, thanks.
This one, thank you. Now I don't have to. Just kind of off this point, I wonder if there could be situations where having an institutional policy in place might lead people to infer a negative descriptive norm, right? The reason we have these policies is because discrimination exists and you know, we don't like people from other groups. And so in the absence of that kind of positive actual norm in the form of contact, policies could sometimes have this backlash effect.
Yeah, definitely. We thought about that, and we're trying, or we're aiming at studying moderators as well. It's not only that they think there might be norms at place because for certain reasons, because others do not behave the way they should. That was your idea, but it could also be that people just simply don't agree with the norms or with the policies, and then you have backlash effects, for example, for high RWAs or SEOs or something like that, yeah. So we're working on that, yeah.
Any more questions? Yeah.
I have one more.
Yeah.
With your neighbourhoods, did discrimination policies vary reliably between the 121 neighbourhoods?
Yes, they did.
And how within the one nation?
In
In study one, not study
yeah, they did vary, yeah. Well, it wasn't an objective indicator, so it was like we asked minority people to rate the amount of equal treatment in their neighborhood, in their city, and there was enough variation, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, even when you consider that it's not in one country, but in one city. So it were 121 neighborhoods in one city, yeah. Okay, thank you.